Adrian, Klay Thompson now entering the discussion today. You talked about how he may be interested in the Lakers if things go well with Davis.
Well, with one big caveat. If the Warriors don't offer him a max contract, I think the Warriors go into negotiations this summer and ask him to take a little bit less. They have a payroll that could be approaching $300 million, payroll luxury tax next year if they were to keep everybody. The Lakers would have interest. Listen, he grew up in L.A. Dad, Michael Thompson, still does the broadcast for them. And that's if they got Anthony Davis. Now, financially, it would be really difficult to create the space to add a third star. He'd probably even have to take a little bit less there. But we'll see what the Warriors do this summer. I think in a perfect scenario where they offer him a max deal, I think he returns with Steph Curry.
You know, it's interesting. Tim McMahon just talked about how it behooves the Pelicans to wait, to sit and wait. You've said the very same thing. I think a lot of people assume this could be a done deal for the Lakers, but the waiting game makes it harder for all these pieces to come together.
It does, and I think the fact that and Tim said it earlier, that the Pelicans know that the best offer the Lakers can make between now and the trade deadline will likely be available to them into the spring and summer, and it behooves them to get the Celtics involved in the bidding. The Celtics have certainly the most draft picks. They have outstanding young players. Boston has been, hoarding these assets for years, with largely in part because they've wanted to make this run at Anthony Davis, who they thought would eventually become available. It's happened. And so that may help to drag this process out.
It's interesting what you say. In my former life, I used to negotiate contracts, and if you had multiple bidders, the last thing you wanted to do was be the person who set the market. Everybody else bids off of you. So why does it make sense for the Lakers to even make an offer right now, knowing that the New Orleans Pelicans could say no, hold them to that, knowing that offer is still going to be there, and have everybody else bid against them?
Well, right now the Lakers have a window where Boston's not bidding. And so the best they can do is hope maybe New Orleans, maybe ownership, maybe the organization, doesn't have the stomach to have this thing play out over months. Not every organization wants to go through that. Dell Demps, the GM in New Orleans, when he started the job, he went through this with Chris Paul. He inherited that situation and went through that long process. It puts a lot of stress on an organization. The Lakers are going to make an offer, maybe multiple offers. They're going to try to see if they can get a deal done before the trade deadline. But I think even they know it's difficult. They tried to do it with Kawhi Leonard and the Spurs last year. Got the sense Spurs didn't really want to do business with them. And that may be the case here, too.
So the other side of this, I think of it in terms of these big threes that everybody tries to create. Let's say you get Davis. You have to trade away basically all your young talent to do it. If you're looking at a Klay Thompson, you're trying to convince others to come. You got LeBron, you got Davis, and who else you got? How hard does it make that to bring other people in town? Because LeBron is great, but he can't play 12 different spots in the lineup.
Well, if you have three stars, then you're building a roster around minimum deals. But the Lakers have always been a team where, veteran players who might take less money on one-year deals to come and play for a championship caliber team, you could still build a very formidable team around them.
It's like the Heat Part 2. It's the same kind of thing. Okay, so I want to ask you quickly about this issue that the NBA is investigating concerning tampering. They're saying they're investigating. They didn't say tampering. They said they're investigating. What does it look like is happening here?
Well, essentially, when Rich Paul went on the record with me on Monday morning that Anthony Davis had informed the Pelicans on behalf of Anthony Davis that he wasn't going to sign a contract extension this summer, which was fine, but the fact that he requested a trade and the collective bargaining agreement, it has rules that a player nor an agent can publicly request a trade. If they do, on the record, do it, with their name attached, there's usually a fine attached to it. Now the league could be looking into more. And the statement, and we showed it earlier, the statement that the Pelicans put out yesterday was more of a warning shot, I think, to Clutch Sports, to Rich Paul. What the Pelicans are concerned about is if now they go public and say, Anthony Davis will only sign an extension with the Lakers, will only sign one with Boston, and they worry that depresses the market. It makes other teams not offer as much. And so I think they're trying to get out in front of that and tell the league, don't allow them to do that, if indeed that's the direction Rich Paul, Anthony Davis go in.
But is that the tampering line? I remember Kawhi last year, there were all those rumors that he wanted to trade, but he never actually came out and said it. Is that the line? You can't say it as a player, at least to your agent?
Well, it's not tampering. It's like tampering is by an organization. And the league has allowed, like what LeBron was talking about earlier, the league has essentially said we will let players recruit players. Even though the CBA's language does specify players, the league doesn't enforce it. What the league came out and said recently was, if we think the player's doing it on behalf of the organization, that it's a campaign, then we'll come in and enforce it with players.
I get it. All right. Always great to talk to you. Thank you for clarifying that. And you've been on top of this from the jump. Great job.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much.